Konnichiwa, this is the Shogunstein. This is a look at the game Chu Han, a two-player game, a trick-taking game, a game with a East Asian history theme. Should be a no-brainer for the Shogunstein. But is it? Let's take a look at what the game is, some historical background, how it plays, and again, just some initial thoughts on the game. So Chu Han, it is a trick-taking game. Trying to get rid of all your cards. You're trying to score over 31 points. It takes place in between the fall of the Qin dynasty and the rise of the Han dynasty in China. See, if you go by the traditional history of civilization, now I'm talking the old school version, we now know things are getting older. We now know that the younger dryas impact theory may have led to the destruction of some earlier civilizations, which might have been very advanced. So our view of early civilization is changing. But if we go by the traditional, what's taught, the cradles of civilization, 3,000 years ago, you have the Neolithic Revolution, farming, civilization. You have the Gift of the Nile, Egypt along the Nile River. You have Mohenjo-Daro, Harappa along the Indus. You have Mesopotamia between the two rivers in Mesopotamia, between the Tigris and Euphrates. And you have Chinese civilization along the Yellow River, China's sorrow. Now, in China, they developed a dynastic system. In the dynastic system, you get a new dynasty. It claims what they call the mandate of heaven, the right to rule China from the heavens. And when things are good, the dynasty is popular, the dynasty is in charge, and things get done. But as the dynasty is there longer, the cycle begins, and they begin to lose their grip of the mandate of heaven. And then you get problems like flooding from the Yellow River, you get earthquakes, rebellions, war, and the old dynasty loses the mandate of heaven, and the new dynasty comes in. And that has been the cycle for most of Chinese history until the communists took power. And the last dynasty, which was the Qing, the Manchurians, about 1911 it falls. In fact, there should have been a shift in the dynastic cycle in the 1850s with the Taiping Rebellion, but the Europeans got involved. Even the communist rulers today are referred to as holding the mandate of heaven. That's the cycle of Chinese rule. Now, the person most attributed to the unification of what we think of China today is Qin. Again, that's the dynasty, Qin, Shi Huangdi. And he very forcibly, very brutally unified the various kingdoms of China, built the Great Wall, and ruled with an iron fist. Very cruel ruler. Unified China, Great Wall, terracotta warriors guarding his tomb in Xi'an, his great tomb with all that mercury. But he was a very cruel ruler, and his dynasty doesn't last much longer than his death. He dies, they trick one of his sons into committing suicide, another son rules for a couple years, but they were so cruel, people didn't want them to stay. They lost the mandate of heaven pretty quickly, and there's going to be a time period between dynasties where there's fighting that will eventually lead to the rise of one of China's most powerful dynasties, the Han. And the Han dynasty has a lot of parallels to the Roman Empire. You can make a lot of good comparisons with the achievements, the rise and fall of the Western Roman Empire and the Han dynasty. So this game, Chu Han, takes place in that period as the Qin dynasty has fallen, and there is a fight to see who's going to be the ruler, which dynasty is going to be in charge of China, and eventually it will be the Han, which will establish a great, powerful dynasty in China. Now, the game comes with a very good historical background that you can read for more info. I also suggest you can look at some of the work by Michael Woods, or there's a lot of good stuff up there on Chinese history. And also you can set up the game for some actual historical type scenarios, campaign style, using the players, the card players, which are for people in Chinese history, and you can have a more realistic, more historical feel to the game. But the standard game is you're trying to get to 31 points. You're trying to lose your cards. So you see the card art is very nice. You have really cool artwork here. Card quality is good. It comes with some big player aids, tell you what the powers of the cards are. Match the shape of the token. You got a dragon for the score, keeping the score. You got your event cards. That's optional. They recommend that you don't use the event cards when you first play. You got these writs, which give you more cards, which, why do you want to do that if you're trying to get rid of your cards? Well, we'll see, because maybe you got to get some cards to lose some cards. But you have that. That'll impact scoring. Now, the other nice thing about this game is, you don't want all this bling with you, and you want to travel with the game. You can take this little tuck box, and instead of these big pieces, they have cards, and you can do everything cards. So you can just pack it all in the little tuck box and play this game with a very low footprint. Too many games today take so long to set up. It's nice that they actually have a way for you to play this smaller. But again, why would you want to gain cards? The whole idea of this game is to lose cards. See, the cards have a rank. Now, cards that have a 3 or a 6 are going to have some powers that you can use at the beginning of the trick or as a reaction to a trick. So the 3s and 6s can be played regularly, and I'll show you that in a second, but there are different powers that you can use them for as well. The basic part of the game is you play a set. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a set of cards, a number of those cards in a rank. So I play 2 4s. Now, if the other player can't put down, they got to put down the same number of cards, and if they don't put a higher number, I win the trick. So let's say this side played 2 5s. Now it goes back to me. I'm going to play 2 7s. If they can't play 2 7s, because again, you got to put the same number of cards out, but it's got to be higher. If they can't beat the 2 7s, I win the trick. And again, this could last, 4 to 7 rounds. But what you can add as you're playing, what makes this a little unique or different from most trick-taking games, again, is the 3 and the 6 cards give you different powers that you can use as you're playing. So again, you have the tricks that you can lead with, and then there are tricks you can use as a reaction to. And again, you get handy-dandy player aids here, or you can, again, have the card size. So, again, on the lead, you may play 1 lead power. That's the 3 or the 6 card. So you can do that first. And again, there are different abilities you can do. You can also, again, take a writ, draw those 2 cards, because again, maybe you can make a bigger set. Then you must play a set of 1+ cards, all of the same rank. And then the rival player can make a response. So they can play a card that maybe is a response. They can take a writ, and they get those 2 cards. And again, you must play the same number of cards, but a higher rank. And again, once it can't go any higher, someone passes, and the other player wins the trick. And this is going to go until you get to 31 points. And the scoring, again, the player who goes out first will get 1 VP, and you keep track of your VP over here, for each card in your rival's hand, for a maximum of 5 VPs. Also, you got to be careful with the writs, because if you didn't win the trick, you didn't win the hand, you're going to get your opponent, the person who does win, will get 1 VP on the track for each writ, up to 6 points. So you got to be careful about pulling these cards. That's basically how the game is going to work. Now, twos are a card that you can actually score if you do sets of twos, big sets. So if those sets of twos are big during the game, you can score. You don't have to wait to the end of the round. So if I play 7 rank 2 cards, I'm going to get 7 points. If I play 6, I'm going to get 6. So as long as you have 5, as long as you have 6 or 7, you're going to score on those twos, the sets of twos. So that's another way to get points in the middle of the game. And that's basically it. So in playing it, and I guess you got to get used to these powers and the rules. It's a little clunkier than I would like. That's just from some initial plays, because I guess you got to get used to these powers. So in the beginning, and again, we're just playing around with it. These are some initial thoughts. In the beginning, it was a little clunky. It wasn't as streamlined as I would like, because you got to get used to these powers, as opposed to, say, a game like Diamonds, which is one of my favorite trick-taking games. That's a very, easy mechanic to know how to do. So you got to really kind of get used to doing your powers. So that's a look at Chu Han. Again, just some initial thoughts. Excellent card quality. I like that the game is portable. Artwork is nice. Components are nice. I like the theme. It's just a little... Again, I got to play this some more. So when I say that it's, a little, bumpy, it's because I think we got to get used to this more. I think the more we play it, I think it'll be easier to know what these cards do. But it's just, sometimes a card, you think of like, the Fox trick-taking game, or, the one with the pirates, that you gotta, make the noise when you do the pirate thing. Some of those are a lot easier, not as, clunky to score. So I think you got to get used to this. So I was, again, 2-player trick-taking game. This theme, I thought I was going to love it right out of the box. But those first couple, rounds, I like the theme. It's just, and again, when I say a learning curve, it's not that these powers are difficult. It's just, you got to get used to doing that, the whole leading and responding. So that would be my one thing that maybe you want to, again, you got to learn these powers good. And then, again, 31 points is, or more is going to be your victory condition. So this is a look at Chu Han, some of the historical background, some of the play powers that you got, some of the components. And again, it's not a full review of the game yet, because after let's say I play this a bunch more times, we get used to it, then we might find our thoughts on it different than right now, where it's just a little bit of a, just the momentum, I guess, kind of stops a little bit, because you're like, all right, what do I, again, I think if I know these powers better, I think the game will flow much faster. But right now, it's just a little too much like, okay, let me see what this card does again. But really like the art, really like the theme, and just like the fact that you can, they were nice, giving this little box, and you can make this a nice portable game. You could probably bring it to the airport or the hotel when you're traveling. So this is some initial thoughts, historical background, unboxing of Chu Han. This is the Shogunstein out.